You hear that? It sounds like the hierarchy of the DC universe is about to change. Ladies and gentlemen, we have more data. And the data is suggesting that James Gunn's Superman has lost to that of Black Adam in its HBO Max debut. Things are about to get a little bit spicy, baby. Now, today's news is coming from Cosmic Book News. It is titled, James Gunn's Superman flops on HBO Max, trails Black Adam, Marvel. Nelson's data confirms what many suspected about James Gunn's Superman didn't fly high on HBO Max. The film generated 513 million minutes of viewing over its first 3 days on the platform, ranking number 4 on the movie's chart and failing to break into Nelson's overall top 10. So, in other words, it did rank in the movie's chart and it made it to the 4th spot. But the overall top 10 TV shows and movies, Superman did not break into the top 10 overall. All right. In comparison, Marvel's Captain America Brave New World started with 750 million minutes over 4 days. Yeah, it's 1 day more, but if you go by average, it is still better than James Gunn's Superman. And Thunderbolts hit 702 million minutes in 5 days. Okay, Superman seemed to have done better than Thunderbolts, both of which made the Nelson's overall movie chart. Okay, so overall, that's in the top 10 movies and streaming series. On a daily average, Superman still trails Marvel's Captain America Brave New World, pulling 171 million minutes per day compared to 187 million minutes per day for Captain America Brave New World. So there's more interest in Captain America Brave New World than that of James Gunn's Superman. That is what they're saying for those out there who lacks comprehension. All right, and since Superman debuted on a Friday, its weekend surge was likely followed by a sharper drop during the weekdays, meaning the average almost certainly declined after Nelson's 3-day window, bringing it down closer to Thunderbolts. Perhaps the bigger story in adding to the continued embarrassment for Gunn's new DCU, Superman performed worse than Black Adam. The film was branded as a flop when Gunn took over DC Studios. Nelson reported Black Adam at 632 million minutes in the first 3 days on HBO Max, a stronger opening than Superman despite the negative press surrounding Dwayne Johnson's movie. So 632 million minutes for Black Adam, and Superman, what I said it was, 513 million minutes watched. All right, so how many L's is DC going to take regarding James Gunn's DC universe before they say, hey, this thing simply is not working? All right, and speaking of working, I told y'all when it came down to the domestic box office, something was not right, especially when you consider they were giving away tickets for Superman. That domestic total is fake. That's how I feel. I do not feel that the domestic total for James Gunn's Superman is real. Why I say that? Because everything afterwards doesn't translate to that number being correct. All right, the VOD sales, nothing. All right, here it is, HBO Max. People can watch it for free. All of those people out there who say that they love the film, they can watch it for free. What do you know? They're not watching it for free. Think about that for a second. Everything that James Gunn has done for DC has flopped, ladies and gentlemen. There's always a negative headline regarding it. You think about the Suicide Squad, one of the biggest failures in DC history. And you fast forward to Creature Commandos, nobody watched. Pissmaker. Nobody watched. James Gunn Superman, a bunch of L's. L at the L at the L. This is L City, if you ask me. This studio cannot get themselves a win. And when they do get a win, they don't capitalize off it, right? Like the Penguin. What are you waiting for to announce a season 2? All right, why is the Batman Part 2 taking so goddamn long when it's the only DC film that has been successful in the last, 8 years or so? I mean, come on. Since the Joker. Matter of fact, let me see. The Joker came out in what, 2019? So I said 8 years, so 6 years. And here it is. The Batman Part 2 has been delayed, mainly because James Gunn is interfering with the process of that film. He's trying to include himself into something that was already successful. If you ask me, he needs to remove himself from any decision-making regarding that of the Batman. I didn't like the first film, but I'm hyped for the second film. You wanna know why? Because I'm a DC fan, and I'm willing to give Matt Reeves a chance, but I am not giving that to James Gunn. James Gunn has 4 chances with me, and he has dropped the ball with all of them. At least I can say with Matt Reeves, he's 1 for 1. The Batman didn't like, the Penguin loved. All right, so I'm on board with what Matt Reeves is doing, but I'm not on board with what James Gunn is doing. And speaking of me being on board, it seems as if a lot of people out there are not simply on board with James Gunn. They're sick and tired of the same tropes. They're sick and tired of his films being underwhelming. They're sick and tired of his film not being deep. That's right. He has these characters and he's doing everything wrong with them. None of these people out here understands exactly how badly this guy is treating the characters of DC. But when it comes down to actually producing results, he can't get them, and they still ignore that fact. This should have been an easy win for James Gunn's Superman. It is Black Adam. Out of all things, Black Adam, a film, by the way, that was not released in China, that could have well been a $500 million worldwide movie. But we would never know. We would never know because Warner Brothers did not try hard enough to get the film in that market. Okay, you got James Gunn's Superman in there, and all he earned was $8 million. That's it. A waste of time. A waste of time. Just like James Gunn's DC Universe, many people are beginning to see it for what it is. And what it is a bunch of nothing burgers. That's all. You're looking for something exciting and you don't get it. Okay, it's mediocre at best. And I'm being generous here. So when it comes to James Gunn's DC Universe and all of those people out there who supporting it, you need to understand that you are in the minority. If you were the majority, this should not be news. Okay, and speaking of that report about Superman was the biggest debut on HBO Max since Barbie, yeah, but they didn't say bigger than Barbie. Okay, try to pay attention to the wordplay here. When you do that, you will be smarter about situations like this.